Part 4. So around 2015, this is when things hit the fan, okay? My parents got really sick at the same time. Mom had a massive stroke, and she's only 60. She was 60 or 61 at the time, but she had a massive stroke. I lived out of town, so when we got in to town, they said my mom had 1% chance to live. She did live. I praise the mighty God for that she lived. But during her hospital stay, which was, she was in the ICU for 3 weeks, and she was in acute care for 2. My father, when my sister and I got in town, my father, it was like he was a completely different man. He was a really intelligent man, sharp. He had been a driver all his life, he wasn't sick. He didn't have like any major issues, but he had been having some memory issues prior to my mom having the stroke. But I didn't realize, I guess we didn't know how bad it was because I didn't live in the same state as my parents. But when my mom went to the hospital, by the time she got out, my dad was walking on a cane. He was so confused. He didn't know where he was going. He couldn't get around town. And like I said, he was a professional driver. He was born and raised, and he lived in my hometown all his life. So he knew the whole city. Like, he knew it without maps or anything. He knew everything about the city. He couldn't even get home. So essentially, we ended up on 4th of July of 2015. We got a call 6 o'clock. Lives totally changed. Where my parents in their early 60s, they need pretty much 24/7 care. With that situation in 2015, trying to take care of my parents from another state and take care of my family, because my family, we live here in North Carolina. My parents lived in another state 8 hours away. From there, I started traveling back and forth. I would spend 2 to 3 weeks with my parents to help with them, and then I would go back home. I was also a full-time graduate student in a PhD program. I had a young child. He was a toddler, married, and I would say that those years was like the worst years of my life. Okay, sorry. So I started having a flare, and a flare is basically when you have these symptoms for the scalp condition. So you'll hear people refer to them as flare. I started having some pain, but at that time I was just so busy with just life and trying to maintain. My parents, they just got sick all of a sudden, so we were having to handle their affairs and make important decisions about their lives. And it was like all of a sudden it just changed. We had no direction. It's not like my parents talked about this with us. So it was hard. And I say I noticed about 2016 that my hair was feeling a little thinner at the top. So eventually I ended up going back to a dermatologist, and sure enough, I was experiencing another flare. So the dermatologist, his PA was who I was seeing at the time, and she started having me come in to have steroid shots more frequently. I did this for a while. I'd say about 5 or 6 months, and I was still like constantly flaring. She recommended that I start taking a medication called methotrexate. Methotrexate is a medication that used to be used for chemotherapy. It is now still used to manage ectopic pregnancy. So if you ever had an ectopic pregnancy, one way that they will try to stop the pregnancy is to give you methotrexate. Methotrexate is toxic enough that they have you sign paperwork to take it. So you are not supposed to conceive children. You're not supposed to take it while you're pregnant because it can cause birth defects. Also, when I was taking it, I had to have my liver monitored, so I'd have blood work done every couple of months to make sure that my liver was functioning properly. So I took it for a year. It takes a while for it to kick in, and I continued on for a year. Honestly, though, I think it worked. Eventually, I wasn't having as big of a